Hi, this is Nikki the therapist. Welcome back to my channel where we discuss children's mental health and the impact of a culture and trust in immigrant communities' mental health and an insight into my perspective as a school-based therapist. I'm doing this episode from the balcony of one of the vacation spots that I'm at right now with my best friend. So I am really excited to use this opportunity to provide such an important episode from such a beautiful view. In my last video, I talked about some of the more frequent red flags that I come across with family sessions. Today, I want to flip that conversation and talk about some green flags, basically positive things that I notice within families that is positive, lets me know that the family-client relationship is it's on a good path, and the family is equipped and ready to help the client through the course of treatment. So I'm going to share the 7 commonly seen green flags that notice in family sessions. One of the first things that I notice is that a parent and a child can both identify why the child is being referred to therapy. So, as I explained in my previous video, at the start of the evaluation process, I always ask the client and the family to identify what's bringing them to therapy. And the ability for the parent and the child to answer this question is definitely a step in the right direction, because this tells me that there is some form of open communication in the household, which is a great starting point for family work, and that there's some transparency that parents are able to have important conversations with the child in a healthy way that destigmatizes mental health challenges and destigmatizes the idea of receiving therapy. Children, no matter how old or how young, it is incredibly important for them to know why they're receiving therapy, because once they know that and they get on board with receiving therapy, they're so much more likely to be open to therapy recommendations and provide assent throughout the treatment process. The second thing that I notice is that the parent and the child are both able to identify strengths and weaknesses of the child. The ability to recognize and identify strengths and weaknesses is an indication of self-awareness. That self-awareness is such an important asset in therapy work. And even though a lot of children are brought to therapy to address their presenting problems, we as therapists provide treatment based on a strength-based approach, which highlights that one, clients and families are the experts in their own life, that clients and families set their own goals to what they want to work on in therapy. And as therapists, we are privileged to be able to enter the family space and provide the family with tools and resources that they need to work on the goals that they set. Not goals that I set, goals that they set. Every family and every child has strengths. They have things that they're good at that can help empower them and assist the client in the treatment process. We help clients recognize what those strengths are and then help them incorporate those strengths in their treatment. The third green flag is parents provide detailed history during the evaluation process. I inquire a lot about the client or the family's previous history with different mental illnesses, history with substance use treatment, trauma, and all the elements we call social determinants of health. Social determinants of health are basically the non-medical factors that play a role into someone's physical and emotional well-being. Things can include where you were born, where you grew up, challenges in education or your ability to access it, legal challenges, financial challenges and your socioeconomic status, the social supports around you, access to healthcare, stable housing, nutritious food, recreation, and necessities. Maybe you've had some major life events that have changed the trajectory of your life. A history with adverse childhood experiences. Studies across multiple credible sources have confirmed a positive correlation between social determinants of health and mental health outcomes. Being able to think about all those areas and reflect on how it has brought you here is an indication of self-awareness and self-reflection. The more parents and clients provide information about their history and lived experiences, think about it. This is a better diagnosis I can make, and therefore the better treatment that I can provide. It can be incredibly hard and difficult to talk about these topics, as it is often associated with distress, trauma, shame, and guilt. I get it. But as a therapist, it is my job to provide a safe space and a non-judgmental environment for all my clients and their families to discuss these factors at your own pace whenever you're ready. Parents reach out and ask for family sessions with clients So family session with client to discuss specific topics of concern. Children are not fully autonomous, and family involvement in the treatment process becomes a crucial part of this process. I have a policy of open communication with my clients' families. And while as a part of my work, we do include family work as well. When parents reach out to me regarding a specific concern, a specific topic that they want to discuss, this tells me that parents are involved and engaged in treatment, and they're taking the steps that is necessary to prioritize their child's mental health. I will, as a therapist, again, reach out, schedule family sessions as necessary. But when a parent reaches out, it really does tell me that they're engaged in open communication. They want to be involved in their child's treatment, and that they're prepared and willing to take the steps that they need in treatment. 5, parents are open to suggestions and ask questions. There are no dumb questions in the therapy space, and all the questions in the world are better than no questions. Questions tell me that you're engaged, that you're critically thinking about what I'm sharing, and you're preparing yourself to implement those treatment recommendations. And you might ask, but what if the questions are challenging rather than inquisitive? That's okay. I welcome it. After every suggestion or recommendation I give, I always give the floor to clients and their families to discuss their concerns, ask their questions, or any challenges that they might anticipate experiencing following through with those recommendations. If you know that there's going to be a problem with what I'm suggesting, I am so more than open to talking it out. Sometimes I might share something that might not be feasible in your daily schedule. It might also be completely against what you were taught to believe, which is also okay. But a part of my job is to provide that explanation, or what we call psychoeducation, about the clinical justification and kind of like the evidence behind the approach to my work. The beauty of treatment is flexible. I want to be able to provide treatment recommendations and tailor them to your life so that you can follow through more easily. So asking challenging questions and addressing challenges is not a sign of resistance. It is a sign of engagement. 6, I see that parents and clients have an equal amount of back and forth dialogue. So this is more of an observation, but when I ask questions in family sessions, I do observe how parents and child are interacting with each other. When I see that both parties are engaged in a cohesive and harmonious dialogue while answering the question, or they're like telling a story together, filling in each other's gaps in that story or in that explanation. So this tells me that, 1, the child feels emotionally safe around their parents. They're able to have those healthy conversations. And 2, it shows to me that there is mutual respect between the parent and the child. Now, mutual respect doesn't mean that the parent and child are equal. It means that there is a strong connection in the family and everyone respects each other within their own roles in the family dynamic. Because you always got to remember this: authority without connection is always going to be met with resistance. And last but not least, this is actually one of the greatest things that I come across with, and this is why I kind of saved it for last. Number 7 is parents who co-regulate with their children during a session, or when a child tells me that they have already established coping skills. This is truly golden and one of the greatest things that I've seen just throughout my work. As I discussed in the previous video about parenting in my analysis of the show Adolescence, coping skills are not innate, they are learned, and parents have to teach them. Maybe like 4 years old. Are demonstrating emotional intelligence. The parent is invested in the child's mental health, and they have a foundation on mental health and wellness, which is huge. It is significant, because learning those coping skills, honestly, when working with children, that's about 1/3 of the work that I do. So when families come in already with that foundation, it really helps to move the process of treatment forward. And then the next step that hits the jackpot in therapy is during family sessions. When a child is feeling distress, the parent will step in and co-regulate. Use the coping skills with the child to model and normalize using those coping skills. An example, like a child is getting really anxious, having a really hard time, and the parent steps in and goes, "Hey, it's okay. It's gonna be okay. Remember to breathe in and breathe out. It's gonna be okay. I know it's hard, buddy, but you got this. That is such an important skill that we don't see a lot. So when we see it, internally as therapists, we're like screaming, we're like having a party in our head because that is so awesome. We don't see it enough, and we need to kind of honestly see it more. I hope that you found the information about green flags and the therapy helpful, and I hope that it encourages more families to implement some of these green flags within your own families. Or if you're already doing these things, I hope that you feel affirmed to keep going because it does matter and it definitely makes a difference. I promise you. Thank you so much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content on children's mental health of immigrant families, and the effects of acculturation stress on their mental health. I'll see you guys next time. This account is for educational and entertainment purposes only, and it does not replace or fulfill the full scope of therapy. The content on this video does not replace diagnosis, treatment, or other therapeutic interventions. Engaging with this content does not create a therapist-client relationship between you and the channel.